Hello, everyone. We're live with Mr. Rahul Bhattacharjee, who's the Associate Director of Recruitment at Synchron. We're super excited to have this conversation with you, Rahul, and I'm sure that the audience is looking for a super insightful conversation here. Everything about talent acquisition and recruitment in tech today. While we're going ahead with our conversation, I'd like to tell our audience that we'd be taking up some questions towards the end of this session. So feel free to ask your questions in the live chat there. Yeah, so over to Rahul. Rahul, let's get started. Of course, we know that you're the associate director of recruitment at Synchron. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and the things that you've done in the past and some interests that you would want to share with our audience?
Sure. Thank you so much, Gopi, for the wonderful introduction and Team Newton School. Really delighted to be a part of the Talent Talk series today. And it's a pleasure for me to be with all of you this evening. I have around 14 years of experience as a talent advisor, working across both the talent acquisition as well as workforce management as a been a part of the TA leadership at Synchron, which is a leading digital transformation consulting firm that's focused on financial services industry, more towards accelerating digital initiatives for banks and insurance companies around the world. I take a great amount of interest in talent acquisition. What are the top challenges that companies specifically are trying to address in terms of attracting and recruiting the best of. And over the years of my experience, I've been a part of some of the leading service-based as well as captive organizations across, helping them change their recruitment landscape, while at the same time trying to bring in world-class talent without compromising the quality of the hire that we do in these organizations.
That already sounds too interesting, and we can't wait to dive deeper into that. So let's get started with a few questions, Rahul. Here, my first question to you is that when you're kind of recruiting for, and what are the recruiting processes or the practices that are in place that go beyond campuses? So essentially, how do you attract good talent beyond campuses?
Sure. So it's a very good question, actually. So one of the key factors for us has always been to focus more in terms of the overall qualities that the individual brings in front of us, apart from just the educational qualifications or the technology matrix. We equally emphasize heavily on diversity as well as the soft skills aspect, because with the skill gap, which is visible in the recruitment industry, right? Candidate having all the skills are a dream candidate, but at the same time, two-thirds of the jobs, heavily rely on soft skills, such as communication and empathy, right? So we are definitely, we try to look more in terms of hiring for soft skills in addition to the technology expertise that the candidates bring onto the table, because they are as much necessary for us, in addition to the technical skills, because we seeing that we are in an early for various recruitment strategies in the current year 2021, and creativity, persuasion, emotional intelligence are some of the key aspects that we look for in prospective incumbents when we are hiring at Synchron.
Got it. That sounds super interesting. And so, what are you, being someone who's an associate director now? I'm sure you've had a long journey through recruiting different individuals. What, according to you, are some of the key traits of a good candidate, like an ideal candidate?
Sure. So some of the key trends about an ideal candidate definitely start with how much is that person informed about the role and the opportunity before coming in for an interview, all right? what are the research that the individual has done about the organization, about Synchron, right? About what kind of work that we do, what kind of problems we are trying to solve over here, right? Before we kind of start off with a detailed interview process, right? At the same time, we kind of really put a very strong emphasis in educating all our applicants, before we start off with the interview process ourselves, to make sure that they are well abreast in terms of the job role, the job specifications, giving them ample time to prepare well for the interview. All right. So yes, I mean, preparedness for the role, the understanding and openness to learn, consulting mindset, right? These are some of the very key ingredients that we look for in a prospective candidate when we are interviewing him or her for an opportunity at Sunny.
So that is insightful, and of course, a lot of students who might be watching this conversation would drive great insight from this. But I want to now address the year 2020 and the kind of like the drastic changes that it brought in a lot of industries due to the pandemic. What do you think were its effects on recruitment and hiring? So the pandemic's effects on recruitment, what were they?
Absolutely. So, I mean, as we all know, the year 2020 has been nothing like anyone expected. I mean, across the globe, actually, the pandemic disrupted our personal as well as professional lives, right? I mean, the world is kind of really grappling up with new vaccine, and healthcare remains the focus. Business world kind of really seems to have picked up momentum, of course, after the initial slowdown. 2020 for Synchron has been reasonably well as well. We've had two major acquisitions in the end of 2020. We increased our overall strength to more than 10,000 amazing colleagues across 22 global locations, and with more than 200 plus marquee clients. And 2021 definitely seems to be an exciting year ahead for us. And now, Synchron apparently has been one of the early adopters of the new normal, right? As an organization, and a part of the talent acquisition function, we realize that this is not only going to be a change in work location, but more importantly, a change in the mindset, all right? And I mean, I would not shy away from admitting that, we were very close to the ground realities in terms of, the way the industries were hiring, particularly how where talents were getting hired across, right? And this pandemic kind of really gave us a window to up our game and go full steam in leveraging technology, as well as at the same time gearing our internal recruitment engine to switch gears, right? As an organization, we were kind of bullish towards diversity. I mean, we've never kind of really stuck to hiring people or talent only from tier one cities, but it has kind of really shown considerable amount of success at Synchron, wherein we've gone ahead and hired diversity talent as well as talent from across various locations and cities across the country. All right, and we can kind of leverage this opportunity to kind of really various programs to focus on hiring talents from tier two cities, kind of giving them a window to peek into into the way we work virtually. All right, we kind of switched completely to an online based assessment program, wherein we've tried to kind of really improve the way we kind of hire people through various coding and technical challenges and problem statements, reducing the kind of interview rounds at an level, thus making the process more smooth rather than cumbersome, right? And launch various campaigns internally within the organization, so that we are able to kind of really attract an array of talent to Synchron and address our open demands at the same time.
That's quite interesting what you're doing, Rahul. But can you tell me a little bit about what is that one trend, or perhaps more, if you would like to point out, that you see that are coming up in the industry when it comes to hiring, and that you see would be a substantial change towards going about identification of the right talent and also hiring the right talent. What are some changes or some trends that are coming up?
Of course. So one of the definite things I can surely suggest over here, Gopi, is virtual recruiting. I feel is here to stay for a long time. All right. I still remember when I had gone for my formal interview or discussion with Synchron. I was professionally dressed, made sure that I was well there. I was well. Within the time limits, I was kind of prepared to kind of meet the relevant stakeholders, keep an updated copy of my bio data handy with me, right? And currently, it's in the current scenario, it's changed, right? And companies have dabbled with video interviewing and remote assessments, right? And now the lockdown aftermath of COVID-19 has sparked them to create an end-to-end recruiting process. I mean, for the first time, and most of it, which is completely virtual, right? At the same time, they are embracing the cost and the time savings that this change has brought with it, right? So in a way, while a hybrid workforce of on-site and remote employees will become the standard, a hybrid hiring process that combines virtual and in-person elements will become the new norm, right? So in this case, of course, I mean, the business will need to refine the virtual process. And as they nail the technology, make sure they continue to look for ways to add human touches back into those systems, right? At the same time, they'll decide when they'll use virtual assessments, right? And ponder upon the advantages of an in-person discussion, and yet continue to leverage the speed and efficiency of virtual interviews as well, right? So what I see is typically candidates for junior or entry level positions may experience a completely virtual hiring interview process, right? Not setting a foot in the office until they are onboarded, right? Then executive candidates, right, on the other hand, probably will kind of continue to receive a bespoke process, with on-site visits as well as face-to-face virtual discussions with various stakeholders. So if you ask me, for one trend that I definitely see, in the coming times, is the way companies are going to interview and leverage technology to hire talent across.
Right. Rahul, do you think that the pandemic has also brought a lot of change, or perhaps now the industry views talent quite differently in terms of onboarding? Does the pandemic affect onboarding processes? And what are the processes that are taken up by companies at this point of time when it comes to onboarding?
Sure. So I think, of course, while we are kind of leveraging technology, in the recruitment process and in the new normal, technology cannot replace human empathy or human touch. At Synchron, especially, we put a heavy or huge importance on this particular fact, that we are recruiting a human being, and that connection with an individual or an incumbent, right, is very crucial for us. The onboarding experience, particularly in Synchron, is something which is more centered towards treating or giving a candidate a very clear picture about what a day looks like at Synchron, right? We do a lot of pre-engagement connects with our incumbents and expecting onboarding pipeline to make sure that people get that feeling of touch and empathy. Right? We try to apprise them of the onboarding process so as to make sure that they are well aware of their day one of onboarding at Synchron. Right? We ensure that there are regular connects and various interactive sessions with various people from a leadership, both at offshore as well as onshore, to connect with the respective people joining the team, so that while they would not be able to meet all the stakeholders in person, they would kind of really have that connect, so that once they are a part of the system and team Synchron, they feel that they are already a part of a process much before they join virtually in the current times, right? So definitely we try to kind of really retain that touch of human empathy, the touch of connection, and give that sense of warmth and welcome to all our prospective incumbents, so that they feel they're a part of the organization even before they start off at Synchron. And that's something we kind of really take great pride on, in ensuring that the way we kind of give them a sneak peek about what a day looks like at Synchron for a Synchronite. Right, it has kind of really garnered a lot of appreciation from candidates when they have joined us and shared that kind of feedback, that we never felt that it's our first day of joining, because the amount of connection, the amount of interaction they have with the various stakeholders, it's quite engaging and elaborate from our end.
Okay. That is a brilliant answer, and I'm sure that not just students, a lot of contemporaries would want to kind of gain insights from that. I want to go back a little bit to talking about students who are essentially freshers, who want to kind of make a mark in the industry, but can be a little intimidated with the kind of competition they get from professionals. So could you throw some light on what is the difference between the recruitment processes of freshers versus that of professionals?
Sure. So in case of freshers, one of the biggest thing that freshers bring in is the zeal and energy. But of course, I mean, I do not wish to demean that of the lateral hires, but definitely, we've kind of really seen that excitement of day one and being a part of, Synchron, and looking forward to change the way we work, looking forward to kind of make a contribution from day one, right? And then, of course, there's always that excitement which is very contagious, especially for the fresher and the junior level talent. At Synchron, of course, we've been one of the strong aficionados for recruiting junior talent. We have a very strong talent hiring program, as when we try to look at talent from various cities of across the country, right? While we have a regular campus hiring program in place, then we also equally, undertake an off-campus hiring program, which we try to kind of really visit or revisit at year on year, to kind of hire talent from tier 2 cities as well as tier 2 institutions, because we are not kind of really biased towards hiring a certain set of candidates or incumbents from a specific location or a specific institute. So from a hiring standpoint, as far as a junior talent goes, right, problem solving is one of the key aspects for us. I mean, I keep on revisiting this concept called problem solving, because at the end of the day, that's one of the very important and key ingredients that every Synchron employee or a Synchronite imbibes upon, right? We've tried to kind of really place ourselves in the customer's shoes and try to figure out multiple ways and approaches in how to tackle a problem, and really strive towards customer delight and customer empathy, right? We've got exceptional feedback from all our customers in the way the Synchronites have addressed the problems, and over again we keep on getting such praises from our customers. Right. So of course, when it comes to hiring, or adding more people to an amazing team of professionals within Synchron, right, we want to kind of really maintain that standard, right? We focus heavily on various aspects, apart from the educational and the technological parameters, but our hiring process also focuses very heavily on understanding the candidate's mindset and collaborative approach too, right? We do a lot of peer-to-peer level problem solving case studies. We do peer-to-peer programming. We do coding challenges amongst various other methodologies, right, to hire talent at junior level positions. Now, compared to that, what an experienced individual brings on is the diverse background of the industry, and at the same time that rich knowledge that they have inculcated over the years working at various positions in their previous engagements, right? We try to understand what kind of challenges have they kind of solved in their previous positions that they have held, what kind of teams have they worked on, what kind of stakeholders have they managed, what are their biggest motivators in terms of being successful in their role, right? What are their expectations from Synchron as an organization if they have to be successful in a given position or an opportunity, right? So it kind of really tries to understand more in terms of the experience a person brings after a certain period of time when we are hiring laterals, to understand what are their strengths, what are their areas of improvement, and how can Synchron as an organization provide the right opportunity for them to spear ahead their career going ahead.
That's quite interesting in terms of the difference that there is in these two. But what advice would you give to someone who's a fresher, who's trying to make a mark, probably is a little intimidated with interviews and hiring? What advice would you give to them?
Sure. So a couple of things, I mean, I can definitely put up on the table. First of all is be very well aware of the position and the opportunity that you're applying for. All right. Gone are those times wherein we used to say one size fits all. All right. Every job, has a customized requirement, right? Try to understand more about the position, try to understand more about the role, the opportunity that one is applying for, right? uh, Try to add more meaning to your application rather than coming up with pages and pages of elaborate CV, right? uh, with companies adopting to technology heavily in terms of application tracking, right? People, I believe, would hardly have time to kind of really spend in evaluating CV when they are receiving around thousands of applications for a given opportunity. We all know how the situation is when it comes to a junior hiring opportunity, right? There would be around 10,000 applications, right? And out of that, probably 5,000 would kind of be received, and then out of which 300 would be evaluated, and then certain handful will be called out, right? So we have to ensure that we are coming up with the right kind of mechanism or following up the right steps in terms of ensuring that our CV gets a foot into the door. So have a CV which is very crisp, which is very relevant. It should talk about the achievements that you have held. It should talk about examples wherein you've been able to kind of really contribute at probably at a project level that you took up during your part of a dissertation in your final year or a final semester. It should talk about your skills as a collaborative individual. It should talk about problem solving strategies that you've demonstrated, right? At the same time, one of the very interesting matrix or the approaches that has kind of really picked up is people are very much active on social media forums, right? While LinkedIn, of course, is one of the most preferred forum to kind of connect and network with individuals, at the same time, emails are equally very much in play, whereas in terms of kind of really sending out applications for a job opportunity, right? So if you're a fresher and you want to kind of really apply for a job opportunity at Synchron, right, try to understand what is Synchron all about. Try to understand, what kind of problems Synchron is trying to address or solve. If you want to reach out to someone, right, try to put in a name, try to understand who's the right person, you would want to interact at Synchron for referring your CV. Try not to kind of really come up with a generalized subject line, right? Urgent, applying for a job opportunity, right? put up something which kind of really talks about, more in terms of a relevant subject line. Synchron, as maybe as simple as Java applicant willing to solve problems in BFSI at Synchron. I mean, it's as simple as that, but it definitely kind of really puts an indication that you've researched about the company. You know what Synchron is all about, right? When you are putting your mail in the subject line, right? Try not to be vague, saying dear sir / madam, all right? Uh, it takes hardly a couple of minutes to find out, who are the relevant people in Silicon. Write an email to them, put up a name. It means that you are interested about the organization, you're interested about an opportunity, right? Do not try to send an email that says in the subject that I'm looking for an opportunity, can you suggest, what would be the right opportunity for me, can you suggest or refer my CV against an XYZ opportunity. I mean, trust me, people would not have that kind of time to address it. Of course, I mean, we would love to kind of address that as much as possible, but eventually at the end of the day, everyone is trying to add value to the process. The best way anyone can kind of really add value over here in such a situation is saying that, these are the top 5 things about me. I'm a Java applicant who's a Sun certified Java programmer or Oracle Java program. Number 2, I have had various I've participated in various hackathons and I have ranked XYZ in those hackathons. Number 3, I take a great pleasure in solving problems related to fintech or BFSI services. Number 4, I've done my graduation from XYZ University and I have been one of the top performers in my college. And I mean, I'm a close collaborator. And probably as simple as saying that my hobbies are researching in Google about what are the top trends in fintech industry. 5 parameters are more than enough for an individual to kind of really look up into your CV and kind of really take up a stance to refer you to the right person, or even kind of reach out to you saying that, hey, you know what, I really like the way you've written your CV and would like to kind of refer you for a role in the organization. Let me know, good time to talk. I mean, something as simple as that can really help you get a foot into the door. And if it's through an employee referral, trust me, 100% chance you would surely get a call, definitely from Synchron or any other organization you're applying to. So these are some of the very simple yet basic steps that, if you are a fresher or if you're just starting out fresh in your career, can really help you get a foot into the door in any of the organization. I hope I've been able to kind of really add some meaning into this conversation.
Definitely, definitely. One last, direction that you might want to give to students when it comes to their interviews, and how are interviews shaped, how are interviews kind of used to identify the right talent and the traits of the candidates as well. Any tips on that?
Very, very true. That's an interesting question as well, right? So as much as preparedness is required at the time of application, at the same time, it is equally important to present yourself in a professional way wherein you are attending a virtual interview. Unlike normal situations pre-COVID, wherein we used to make sure that we are properly dressed in a professional attire, we are in the best possible representation of ourselves, so that we are able to articulate, we are able to emote properly, we are able to kind of really express ourselves during an in-person conversation, right? Those boundaries, while they're there virtually, but still, we are limited by the challenges of the virtual world, right? Now, having said so, definitely when you're attending a virtual interview, right, be very, very conscious of the background, right? We've kind of really focused on ensuring that the background, even if you're doing as simple as a client call, it's professional, because when we are talking to our customers, we are representing the brand, right? So when you're applying for an opportunity within an organization, you're representing the best of yourself. The person on the other side has to see through it that, wow, this guy is so serious about the opportunity that he's dressed up well, he's kind of really put up a very professional background, right? There are a lot of platforms wherein you can kind of really come up with some very, very interesting and professional backgrounds. Canva is an application that kind of really has a lot of professional backgrounds that can be leveraged for virtual meetings, right? Wherein you're doing a virtual interview, ensure you're at a place where the network coverage is good. Ensure you're at a place where you can be properly heard and seen, right? Your background, as I said, is very, very important, right? I heard somewhere that, and I would definitely like to kind of really try it sometime, even in my future as well, wherein a person kind of really, put up an amazing background, wherein, he put up her name, she had put up her name along with probably 2, 3 top qualities about herself. I mean, that kind of really stands out as an applicant, all right? So, having the right kind of a background, having the right kind of attire while attending a virtual interview is of utmost crux, I must say. Third, and the most important thing is homework and research. There's a saying that if you try to write down or jot down, something, you'll have a better chance of retaining it, when you are supposed to speak about it. Please do your homework. Please write down on the top points that you want to talk about, especially your strengths, your weakness, the kind of challenges, that you would like to address. And this would really kind of really hone your skills in presenting a better version of yourself during an interview. So definitely these are some of the things that I feel can really help an individual, even at a junior level, to kind of really stand out during an interview or a discussion with a prospective employer.
Awesome. This was super insightful, Rahul, and I'm really glad that you could spend some time to talk to us today. I'm sure that all our students and our viewers are taking something home today. While I'm sure that most of them would be sitting at home itself, like me. But yes, thank you so much for joining us, and it was a great time talking to you today.
Same here. Thank you so much for hosting me, Gopi, and appreciate the time, and wishing all a great weekend ahead.
Yes, same to you. Thank you.
Thank you.